One of the necessary evils in our life is the Green Party. We do need them because a lot of people like their fundamental principles.
Yep.
And look, it sounds like they're in trouble. You know, what is it? Their co-leader, one of their co-leaders wants to resign or pull out, or is he being sacked? I don't know. Vaughan, what's going on?
Oh, look, Max, the Green Party. You know, with the general election a little over a year away, it's not ideal that the Green Party have got leadership issues. Or is it? Max, at this point, I see three key issues facing the Greens. Number one, Chloe's Swarbrick. Anyone with a pulse knows that it's not a matter of if, it's when Chloe becomes the next leader of the Green Party, politically or otherwise. She's by far and away the brightest light, not only in the Greens, but almost in Parliament, full stop. And
I do have to agree with you. But what's the problem now? What's with James Shaw? Is he resigning or what's happening?
Yeah, well, I'll get to that because basically, you know, in political terms, regardless of what we think of Chloe, because clearly there's questions about leadership, Chloe's an excitement machine, whereas for James and Marama Davidson's, they are about as exciting as watching paint dry while sitting in a cold bath with somebody you just like. So, you know, it's not a surprise that there's question marks around that leadership. So, you know, and what I also see, Max, is that leaving the Greens leadership untouched running into the next election, particularly James and Marama, is akin to leaving Ian Foster as coach of the All Blacks. It's not an outcome that is going to bring a solution. It's just papering over the cracks without facing the facts. So, you know, back to poor old James, clearly internally there's question marks there about his leadership. But as far as I'm concerned, the sooner that Chloe takes over as the leader of the Green Party, the better their prospects are for next year. Both Marama and James are not in the same ballpark as Chloe, not even close. So I've warmed up with point number one, Chloe. What are your thoughts on that, bro?
Well, a couple of things. I do agree. Look, Chloe's got a lot to offer. She's very bright. She's extremely smart. She's very good on her feet. She can think fast and she's intelligent, and that comes across and aesthetically pleasing to the eye. So putting all that across, it's good. But is she a leader? Does she have the ability to lead a team? Now, the feedback I get from her and her office downtown, she's got a lot of people following her around and a lot of people. So perhaps she has. And Vaughan, I do like the thoughts of young people coming through and reinventing things. I do think that's quite healthy for politics, particularly.
Yeah. Well, that leads us into point number two, Max, which I kind of have these 3 points that when I thought about James Shaw's issues in the Green Party, and that is the coalition agreement with Labor, which it really isn't. The truth is it's not a coalition at all. Labor didn't need the Greens after 2020 election. Labor let James Shaw and Marama Davidson sit at the top table as an act of courtesy. Furthermore, the real benefit factors of sitting at that top table have been for James and Marama, not for the Greens. So that's all very lovely, Max, but the problem with that is, and it's exactly the same problem that troubled the Māori Party in 2017 when they sat at the top table with the then John Key national government. In 2017, Labor strategist Matt McCartan looked at the Māori Party and the National Coalition, and he came up with the line, a vote for Māori is a vote for National. That line stuck. People bought it, and next minute, Māori Party were not in Parliament anymore. Fast forward to 2022, the Green Party are in exactly the same boat, because right now, a vote for Green would be a vote for Labor. If that line sticks in 2023, the Greens are in deep caca, bro. That's my second point. What do you think about that?
Well, let me just before you go off to the next one, my thoughts on that is James Shaw. I think he might be in trouble, and I think that the core of the party have said to him, we're unhappy with you because you keep agreeing with Labor and you've been their lapdog. Look, you need to go and we need to actually push harder against them so we can get our voters get represented, because obviously they're on the far left, whereas this government's sitting pretty much, no, it's pretty much on the far left as well, but they're different. They're different in types of nature, aren't they, Vaughan?
That's correct, Max. And I'll just retort on what you said about, James is in a bit of trouble. Look, and the reason why I've not focused so much on James and looked at the other things, the areas, why is he in trouble? Well, one, they've got a superstar in the background as Chloe. So people want the superstar. It's a little bit like everybody wants Razor Robertson from the Crusader to run the All Blacks, not Ian. James has got the same boat. And
I agree. Chloe's knocking on the door, and she's obviously not saying that openly, but look, I think the public is saying, bring her on, man. She needs to get under the spotlight.
Yeah, and Chloe's got an ego bigger than Kay Rhodes, so therefore she hard out wants to be the leader. No question. She's saying nothing says I want it. So let's not piss about there. And that leads me into the third thing that I thought about the Greens. And this one's a little bit of an outlier, Max. But, the key thing for me around the third, and I believe it's the most significant, is in terms of an outcome at next year's election, it's actually about the National Party. And, as you know, the Nats have made a big song and a dance about their sudden rediscovery of Te Tiriti and a decision to stand in a Māori electoral seat, being the Tāmaki Makaurau, here next year. Strategically speaking, dumb move by the Nats. They are redirecting significant financial resource plus some of their best young talent into the Tāmaki Makaurau seat where they have absolutely zero chance of winning that seat. That's dumb, bro. And so to put that into context, Chris Luxon has a better chance of falling pregnant than his party does of winning a Māori seat in 2023. It's a wasteful use of party resources if their true strategy is to win next year. But here's the bigger issue, Max, coming back to the Greens. For Labor to win next year's election, they are going to need the Greens to hold on to their current 10% share and 10 MPs to get them over the line. So wouldn't you think that the best strategic deployment of National Party resources would be to target the Greens instead of putting on a little show for Māori voters? It's this simple, Max. If you unseat Chloe Swarbrick from the Auckland Central seat, which she won in a big upset in 2020, you are landing a potential body blow to Labor in 2023. Chloe Swarbrick is the only one of the 10 Green Party MPs that is capable of winning a seat. She is their Achilles heel. Take out Chloe, you take out the Greens. Therefore, National finding a candidate who can win in Auckland Central is far better strategic use of their resources than National fart-arsing about, scratching together 1,500 votes in the Tāmaki Makaurau seat and coming fourth next year in that seat. National are standing in a Māori seat for window dressing purposes only. There's no sincere intent, and Māori voters won't fall for it. Everybody
do you know what, Vaughan? I've got to say, moving Chloe out of that seat would be very, very difficult. You say she is a star. She is highly performing well, but who could match up to her in terms of that seat? I think it would be extremely hard. She took it off some pretty good contenders last time, and I think she's probably locked in there because she has performed. Admittedly, she could have performed better, but I think she's done okay. And I would say the people in the central Auckland will be saying, we want her back again. Not sure that you'll unseat her.
Max, I disagree. Auckland Central National in 2020 made a complete pig's ear of it. They put a candidate up. They absolutely threw that seat. And I think it absolutely gave a red carpet ride. When I mean red carpet in terms of Labor, almost stood aside and Chloe came through. So in terms of the central seat, Nikki Kay was the last National MP that held it, which was 2017 to 20 before she stepped down. And I think that it absolutely can be won back. But my key point is National are far better putting in a good showing in Auckland Central than fart-arsing about trying to show that it's all lovey-dovey for Māori out at Tāmaki Makaurau.
I get that point, and I think you're right, spot on with that. But by crikey, it's going to take some moving of getting Chloe out of there. I think the Greens do need a refresh, and maybe James got to go, or Marama. I don't know, but it sounds like James seems to be the target at the moment.
The James's issues are no surprises to anybody. He hardly lights up the room, right? And the future is Chloe. So for me, 1 year out from the election, I think it's really positive. To me, it's the last thing National wants is Chloe. James is the opposition leader you want because he, by and large, is as flat as a pancake. Yeah.
Well, look at another angle. There's a brand new party which I believe, and according to the Herald this morning, may get across the 5% threshold, and that was that voter in. I think what was her name? She presented it for
the by-election.
The Tauranga election, and she did quite well down there. Now, Brian Tamaki wants to join with her, or he's hinting it'll be three little ones joining together. If that happens, she could be a force to be reckoned with. Now, there's ACT on that side. There's a small party like this one starting up. There's a few of them just really could come back into the limelight for the election, and that's going to dilute the little votes, the little parties. And
I think anyone with political smarts, will not have a bar of Brian Tamaki. I mean, Destiny didn't exactly do that well at the 2020 election.
Well, there's a lot of people pretty angry, Vaughan, over the lockdown period, and I think that even the Greens will lose party if there was someone who put up a real argument regarding that. There was a lot of Green people down there.
Yeah,
they might jump ship over to the other party, and the Greens would not be happy with that.
But if you look at that protest last week, people are over seeing self-centered, narcissistic protests where you block up State Highway 1. Sure, they're riding on the bow wave of the Wellington protest and the big lockdowns and the anti-vax, all that sort of stuff. But we're moving on, Max. We are moving on.
One of the stupidest protests I've ever seen. Why would you try and block the innocent, the people trying to have a holiday? It's just the end of the school holidays and you block traffic for what? Oh, to tell the government off. Well, for goodness sake, get down to Parliament again, or go and do it somewhere else, or knock on the Governor General's door, but don't go in the middle of and stop innocent people.
Why politically would you want to hang around with a muppet like that? Self-centered, narcissistic a-holes. I mean, you do not want anything to do with that. That is not good for your political. I don't even know her name, down in Tauranga. Yes, she did well, but she'd be well advised to steer clear of other people trying to ride on her coattails. So we're hearing about this whole three parties getting together and maybe taking 5% of the vote. Best of luck with that. I don't see it eventuating.
Yeah, and I do agree with you, Vaughan. That's good advice for her. I can't think of her name either. She took a case to the High Court. But anyway, I think she would be better to steer away from Brian. I don't think he does her branding much good either.
Yeah.
All right, mate. Well, you want to sum up?
Yeah, look, to wrap up, the sooner that the Greens tidy up their, the sooner that Chloe steps forward and takes leadership will be great for the Greens. I wouldn't vote for the Greens, but I'd say do it. Absolutely do it. New Zealand politics needs the fresh energy because we've got too many sort of like status quo dinosaurs hanging around there. Bring it on. That'd be great for this week in politics.
Good one, Vaughan. Hey, good to see you too, brother. I miss you.
Back,
and by the
Max.
way, Vaughan and I have not fallen out. We're good mates. I mean, it'll always be good mates forever and ever. All right, buddy.
Okay, catch you, Max.
See you, mate.